Someone at the top of the stream dared me not to talk about Bethesda for an entire stream. Joke's on you, my friend. Joke's on you. We actually have a story today. We actually have something to talk about. Article posted on MP First this morning at 9:38 a.m., right before the stream started. Report: Starfield PS5 release planned for 2026 alongside expansion number 2. Now, as you know, we've done a few segments talking about how bizarre it is that Starfield was completely ignored at the Xbox showcase. Just not given the time of day, not mentioned. And they are supposed to have an annual expansion. So they, of course, had Shattered Space last year, but they've had nothing this year. They've announced nothing so far this year, even though back in March they said we have lots of exciting things to planned to share later this year. And as of right now, there's been nothing. But this report would suggest it's because it's gotten delayed and pushed back. Hopefully because it's so good, right? While more and more Xbox games are being released on PS5, one Xbox exclusive game that still hasn't been announced for PS5 is BGS's Starfield. Given Microsoft's multi-platform publishing stance, it's just a matter of when the sci-fi RPG will be available on Sony's console rather than if it will ever be released. For those on PS5 hoping to play Starfield on their console this year, that won't be happening just yet. According to our sources, MP First was told that Starfield won't be released in 2025, partly due to the RPG's weak sales of the first expansion, Shattered Space. Instead, Microsoft is leaning towards releasing the PS5 version in spring of 2026. For those not in the US, spring starts in the middle of March and runs to mid to late June. From what we were told, Starfield's release on PS5 is planned to coincide with the game's second expansion and other quality of life updates. We are also not expecting any announcement about the PS5 version of the game at this August's Gamescom, so don't expect it to be over or to be shadow dropped like BGS's Oblivion Remastered release a few months ago, which is something we reported on accurately for anybody keeping score. So expecting it to come in the spring and be there like April, potentially shadow drop. And then it's paired with the second expansion. And my prediction, you guys know, my prediction has been, oh, the candle, you're right, of course. How could I forget? My prediction from the beginning has been that they were going to release it on PS5 as a complete edition, and it was going to be basically like both expansions. Maybe they throw in some creations credits and stuff, but I think they sell it for full price. They said they're not doing this is actually funny. So my original prediction was that they were going to release the complete edition of Starfield on PS5 at $80. Xbox then updated their pricing and said, we're not doing our holiday AAA stuff or premium products at $80. They said, this holiday, we are not moving to $80. So I retracted my prediction. I said, okay, I think they'll do Starfield Complete Edition PS5 and both expansions included for full price. I thought that was going to be $80. They're saying they're not going to $80 yet, so they'll do it at $70. But if they're pushing it to spring of next year, they might go up to $80 for that. So it's possible that they actually do end up releasing Starfield for $80 on PS5 with the expansions and everything as the complete edition. I don't think it's worth $80, frankly, but you know, maybe there's been other games where it comes out on PS5 and it performs surprisingly well and sells decently well, and I've been surprised by that. So maybe this is another case of that. Maybe they drop it for 60, maybe they do it for 50. I don't know. I can't really see them doing that, but who knows? Who knows? Similar to any release or marketing plan, there are numerous moving parts and things are constantly changing. However, based on the information we currently have, we do not expect Starfield to be released on PS5 this year. And then they mention the expansion not doing as well as they expected. And they said that the Xbox version was very glowing. What did they give Starfield originally? Do they even do numbered scores? I'm kind of curious. 9 out of 10. Okay. Anyway, I think this makes sense with how they've approached it and how they've been talking about it. I think the delay would suggest probably that something slipped, because I think back in March, the goal was for it to come out later this year. And if this is true and it's booted 6 months, basically from maybe September, October to the spring, it could suggest that maybe, you know, they ran into some trouble with the expansion. Hopefully it means they're adding more to it. They're doing something even crazier and more elaborate. That would be my hope, is that they're just going even crazier. But I still think that this is probably the end for Starfield as a package. I think after this expansion, they're going to move on and focus on Elder Scrolls 6 and kind of reset everything from there. But we'll see. It got a lot of 8s at launch. It did a lot of like 7s and 8s. It had a few masterpiece grades. People gave it 10 out of 10s and stuff. The big thing with Starfield is that if you played it for about 12 to 15 hours, it did feel like the best Bethesda game of all time. It really did, honestly. And I said that in my review. I was like, after 10 to 15 hours, I thought they had actually pulled it off and done it. I was thoroughly surprised and very impressed. It's later, once you hit like hour 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, where the illusion breaks and everything snaps and you start seeing the same places over and over and over again. So I'm not suggesting that reviewers were giving it 10s having not finished it. I'm not saying that, but I think that some people were more tolerant of the repetitive stuff and were more tolerant of the repetitious, like POI generation and some of that stuff. And other people just, frankly, they're better at tuning out things like bugs and loading screens. They just don't notice it. Like their brain just filters it out of their memory. Whereas for other people, it's very obvious and frustrating, you know? But either way, if this is the case, I think it makes sense. And my prediction stands.